Hello and welcome to Addicted to Lacrosse. This is Season 5, Episode number 25. Today is Tuesday, June the 12th, 2018. My name is Graham Perro. With me, as always, are Tyler Fitch and Melissa Daphne. This is the season finale of Season 5 of A2L. I guess there's two kinds of season finales. One that sort of ties up all of the loose ends, and another one that leaves you with a cliffhanger. And I think this will be the former, seeing as all the loose ends have been tied up already. So, congratulations. We will start off to the Saskatchewan Rush, who are the 2018 NLL champions. This is their third title in the last 4 years, if you want to include the Edmonton Rush title in 2015. And since it's mostly the same team, that's easy to do. So we'll get to that in a second. There's a couple of pieces of news, one of which could be a lengthy discussion, so I want to get to that after we talk about the finals. But really quickly, there was an announcement today that the Canadian Lacrosse Association and the NLTPA, which I believe is a National Lacrosse Team Players Association, which is basically the players' union, have reached a deal. So Team Canada will be able to play at the World Championships in Israel next month. It's about a month away, and there was, up until today, it looked as if Team Canada was not going to be able to play, and that means they wouldn't be able to play in few tournaments as well. I don't remember all the details, but thankfully that seems to be over, and Team Canada will be playing. So that is definitely good news. No details of the deal were made public, so that's pretty much all we know, that they have a deal. The deal was made a couple of days ago. They're announcing it today, and so I guess after a probably fairly short training camp, Team Canada will be playing at the World, so that's definitely a good thing. So let's get on to the only game of the week, which was Game 3, and Saskatchewan beat Rochester 15-10. And as they said on the broadcast, that score is kind of misleading because it was probably a closer game than the score might indicate. I guess that's probably true of all three games. So we'll get on to the awesomes and the not awesomes, and I have a few. I don't know if Melissa has all that many, and Tyler has a few, so why don't I start then? My first one is goaltending in the first quarter specifically. There's only one goal in the entire first quarter, and that was only with about 45 seconds left. It was very defensive. Both goaltenders made some excellent stops, and it looked like it was going to be one of the lowest scoring games in championship history. Didn't turn out that way, but certainly in the first quarter and for much of the rest of the game as well, I thought the goaltending was outstanding. Matt Vince was almost as good. In the first quarter, he was easily as good as he was in Game 2. Evan Kirk as well. And both of them look like, if we're going to lose this game, it is not going to be my fault. And so goaltending in the first quarter was outstanding. And Melissa, do you have any awesomes?
So I think it is awesome that the Rush won their third championship in 4 years. As we talked about for me, it was probably a couple weeks ago since life happened last week, and I wasn't on the show. But the Rush were the team that pretty much everybody beat. That was just the way they were. And so the fact that they have now 3 championships under their belt is pretty amazing. The Mammoth have only ever been once, and they've been in the league longer. So to me, that is one of the most awesome things. It's just to watch how this underdog team has really become a dynasty. So it's pretty awesome. What about you, Tyler?
Sure. My first awesome is Jeff Schaller and his play last weekend and the weekend before that in their loss. Both games, he was never quitting, and he was making moves that nobody else on the floor is making. I'm just going to cut to the crease, put my stick up. Mark Matthews is pretty good. Ball ends up in my stick, and I'm shooting from the crease and putting goals in the net. And he made a big life choice last off season to not re-sign with Calgary, and as a free agent to switch over to the Rush, who's kind of like their arch enemy. But for him, he came in. He never really made it about him. He's never seen anything that like they're going to win because I'm here and they screwed up last year or anything like that. Like, no, like when the team needs me, I'm here. And the last 2 games they needed him, even though they lost one of those games, the game in Rochester, like he gave it his all. And then he did even more this weekend. And the result is he got another ring to go add to his legacy. He's been an MVP in the league. He's been a transition player of the year, I think, even, and phenomenal addition to his career. You could say that he's definitely like on a Hall of Fame path. He doesn't have any reason to quit playing for a few years, but like 2 championships now, MVP award, like, total team player, like those kind of that combination of accolades should leave him in good standing as a player to be remembered throughout time. Graham, what's your next awesome?
All right, going from goaltending in the first quarter, I'm going to go to Evan Kirk in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was great the whole game. There were maybe 2 goals the whole game where you looked at and thought, Kirk probably should have had that one. But, I mean, every goalie's got a couple of those every game. None in the fourth quarter, though. Where did I have my list here? I lost it. Fourth quarter, okay, yeah, Rochester did score twice within 30 seconds, about 2.5 minutes in, and then they were shut out the rest of the quarter. He made all the stops that you expected him to make. He made a few that you didn't expect him to make, and he managed to keep the Nighthawks from gaining confidence, and they certainly gained confidence after game 2, and then in game 3, they looked like they were trying to get that confidence back, and Saskatchewan was having none of it. And Evan Kirk was taking that away. He made sure that his team, he was giving his team every chance to win, and taking away the confidence that the Nighthawks needed, and killing any momentum they were trying to get. And that he was just better than solid. I was gonna say he was solid in the fourth, but he was better than solid. He was outstanding in the fourth quarter, and that not only took away from Rochester's confidence, but gave the Rush even more confidence. And I think that was a big part of it. Jeff Shatler was definitely the MVP of that series, but you might be able to convince me that Evan Kirk was a close second, particularly for game 3. All right, Melissa, what's next?
Okay, so I got another generic one. And when we get to the Not Awesomes, everybody will find out why mine are so generic. But I think it was awesome that it went to 3 games and that the Rush won in their home field. I think that was a very important thing for them this year, to win at home. And so for the fans that have really pulled together for them and been just a huge support system, to actually see their team win the cup, I mean, that's awesome. So I think that was my next awesome. It's just the fact that all the Rush fans got to actually cheer them on in Saskatoon. So, all right, what about you, Tyler?
Yeah, my next awesome, I just totally changed on the flex. I saw something yesterday or Sunday when I was reading through tweets. My awesome is Les Bartley. I didn't get in the league until 2005, so I didn't really see how incredible he was as a coach. But what I have seen is how incredible Derek Keenan is as a coach. Keenan took Portland team to the finals, maybe even twice. Big 106 as well. I don't know, but he took Portland team to the finals. He took the Rush with these extended series now that they have, took them to the finals 5 times. He's won 3. And Keenan has 17 playoff wins. And Les Bartley is still ahead of him on the list with 18. So in a smaller league with like less playoffs, as far as I can remember, there may have been playoff series back in the Les Barley era as well. But
there was one playoff series in '98, I think it was, the best of 3.
okay.
But Bartley wasn't involved in that series because it was Baltimore versus Philly. But other than that, it was pretty much single game elimination all around.
Yeah. So Les Barley, playing with less opportunities to play in each season, still has more playoff wins than Derek Keenan, who is phenomenal. And that just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm just going, damn. Like, of course, the Coach of the Year award is named after him. Like, he was the coach. And they showed the highlight over the on the game over the weekend of Derek Keenan on the bench with Les Bartley during one of the Rock Championships. So it's that continuation of, like, they call it a coaching tree. Coaches or even players who played underneath a coach, and then he kind of was the foundation, and all these people came out from him. Like Keenan's one of those, but Keenan's been phenomenal, and Les Bartley was better than that, and I can't believe I missed it. And that's pretty awesome for Les Bartley and his legacy. So that was my awesome there. Graham, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, if you look at Les Bartley and the people who played and coached underneath him, like you said, obviously Derek Keenan, the other coach at that time was Ed Como, now with the Swarm, obviously. But players on the Rock at that time were Jim Veltman and Dan Ladouceur, and the trio in Colorado. And I can see Colin Doyle being a good coach at some point. Well, I think he's a good coach now, just not at the NLL level. I'm not sure Josh Sanderson ever played for Bartley. He probably joined the Rock afterwards. But in any case, there's all kinds of players and coaches that coached or that played with Bartley, and obviously stuff rubbed off on him. My next awesome is the post-game interview by Chris Corbeil. They mentioned the play in the championship game last year where he received a pass and dropped it, and that led directly to the game-tying goal from the Swarm with however many handful of seconds left in the fourth quarter that sent it to overtime, in which the Swarm won it. And he took responsibility. He said, that was entirely my fault. He then said that Derek Keenan said, "Yeah, that's nonsense. It's not your fault. It was just a bad play, and you shouldn't take it all on yourself." But Corbeil did. He says, "Yeah, that's a catch that I make 99 times out of 100, and that's the time I didn't." And so he blamed himself. Blamed himself for the loss. But when it came to the victory, he deflected the praise. He said it was the GM, it was the coach, it was the teammates, it was the whole team as a whole. And I just thought that was a great example of leadership. And Corbeil's always been a favorite of mine, and that certainly helped. Another interview that I thought was pretty good was Jeff Shattler. He was obviously quite excited about winning another championship and dropped a couple of F-bombs. But hey, you've just won the championship, so we'll let that go. I don't think he had even been named as the MVP at that point. That didn't come until a few minutes later. But hey, we'll let that go. So both of those interviews were pretty awesome. Melissa, do you have another one?
I do not. What about you, Tyler?
I do have one more. I will say quickly, like Shattler, he could tell, I guess, that like he wasn't on the PA system because he was on TV and he said what he said. But as soon as he heard himself over the PA, like I think he cleaned himself up because whatever. It was an interesting choice, but he was very excited in the moment. My last awesome for the week, and I guess for the season, is the Rush defense. They were everything you expect out of the Rush defense on Saturday night. There was constant pressure, frequent double teams, and they knocked down passes. There was few easy looks for Rochester, and really, like, Rochester got one goal with a moment left and 45 seconds left in the first quarter, so it was almost nothing. They didn't score in the last 12 or 13 minutes of the game. They had basically half the game where Rochester was completely locked down, unsettled, especially the fourth quarter shutdown. Rochester knew they needed to get some goals to get back in the game, and the Rush did not let them get any easy looks, and they make all the difference. And kind of something we talked about during the year. It's like, wow, Bold doesn't look as good as he did last year. Bold was not playing in front behind this defense, and Kirk was good last year and looked probably as good as he did. But again, playing behind this defense makes any goalie look good. And I'm not trying to say that it wasn't because of Kirk. Kirk made some saves, but the Rush defense are the reason I think they won the title, even more than the offense, even more than goalie. I think it's the Rush defense and how aggressive they were, and was the difference in the game and got them a championship. It's the cliche is defense wins championships. Well, yeah, look at the Rush. They've had a core set of defenders there for 4 or 5 years, even longer if you really think about the core. I think since Rubish got there in 2011 after the Blazers dispersal, that's like 7 years. I haven't seen a ton of change on their team. They know exactly what they're doing, where their teammates going to be, and they lay waste on people. And they're poised to do it again, because I think the expansion teams aren't going to take the defenders away. They're going to probably go for forwards. Well, if you leave that defense intact, there's your front runner for next year. It'd be pretty wild. The Rush defense is my last awesome for the year, because they decided it in my mind how the season ended up with them being champions. Graham, any more awesomes?
Not awesome. The first one is just a quick one, and that was right after the game ended. The Rush PA guy announced that the commissioner was coming out to give out the cup. What was it? Actually, it might have been at halftime when they did the coin toss. But first of all, that was last week. Yeah, so the coin toss was last week, and I realized that I didn't actually see the coin toss because I had network issues. This was after the game, announcing the commissioner to come out to give out the cup, and he announced Commissioner Nick Sakiewicz. And yeah, it's a tough name to pronounce, but you're the guy who works for the team. You got to know how to pronounce the stupid commissioner's name, for crying out loud. Nick Sakiewicz. It's not rocket science, but I think we may have mentioned on the show before, name pronunciation, getting it wrong just ticks me off. And when it's the commissioner, this is the same PA guy that's worked for the Rush for at least a year or two. And so to get the commissioner's name wrong is, in my mind, inexcusable. So that ticked me off. Definitely not awesome. Melissa.
All right. So my not awesome pretty much affected everything this week. And so I'm going to share what I got to last night when I tried for the 4th or 5th time to watch the game. If this is going to work. All right. I don't know. Hopefully you can see. So going to NL TV, I get this content must be purchased to view. Please log in or buy it now. The entire season, waiting 24 hours-ish, unlocked the season. So, I guess it wasn't sharing. Now we're screen sharing. Okay, so yeah, this is what I saw. Not a happy camper, needless to say. So, now let's see if we can get that to stop. So the whole season I've been able to watch them after a day. My Saturdays are crazy, so for me, watching them live, as much as I'd love to, it just doesn't happen. So I usually watch them later. As early as this morning, I still couldn't watch the game. So the final game, the championship game, I have not been able to watch. because
Okay, so nobody tell Melissa what happened.
Unfortunately, I did have the spoilers. But it sounds like it was an awesome game. So as soon as that unlocks, I'm going to go watch it. But this is why I really didn't have any awesomes. Because this was huge. And I wonder how many other people went to watch the last game and went, I can't watch it. You know, some of them may have bought it. Some of them may have had the membership and already logged in and not even noticed. But for those of us who maybe didn't have the package, this was kind of a big deal. So for me, that is definitely my big not awesome. What about you, Tyler?
All right. My not awesome for the week. It's kind of hard to find one because it was a good game. Well, a lot of great action. But it kind of ties into my last awesome. It was Rochester's effort on the ground balls. The final tally for the night was 73 for the Rush and 64 for the Nighthawks. Of those 64 for Rochester, Jake Withers had 20. So, and he had won like 22 face-offs or something. So take away those 20, and then we look at a total of 73 to 44. That's a massive advantage for the Rush. And it's possibly the, quote, true loose ball count outside of face-offs. If you're playing any team, let alone the Rush, and you're getting beat on loose balls 73 to 44, you never had a chance. And I don't know if Rochester is relying too much on Withers to do those. We've definitely seen games where Buffalo just let Snyder take all the face-offs and just you win it, and they still won the game, regardless of face-off dominance. So you can't have that be the way you're getting the ball. You need to get the ball when it's a 50-50 ball, or it's just rebounds, any sort of unsettled situation. And they didn't. And that's another reason that the Rush won the game. So it was not awesome that Rochester failed to get an equal amount or a greater percentage of loose balls in the biggest game of the year. Graham, any more not awesomes for you?
One more, and it also, well, mine first one didn't really have anything to do with the game itself, and this one doesn't either. This one was on Sunday. The Saskatchewan Rush Twitter account started tweeting directly to Sportsnet and TSN, which are the two biggest Canadian sports networks, as well as many of the on-air personalities at those networks, and explicitly asked them, why is there no coverage of the NLL championship? We just won the championship in Canada's official summer sport, and we're not on your website. We're not on the highlight reel. There's no coverage. What's going on? And I sort of did a double take when I first saw it, because I assumed it was a Rush fan asking for coverage. And we've certainly seen that before. This was the official Rush Twitter account. So it was the team itself that was tweeting this. And I mean, they're certainly upset that there isn't more coverage, and we all are. And it's disappointing that Canada's sports networks aren't paying attention to lacrosse. But to do it publicly like that, it just smacks of desperation. It screamed, it's like, you know, everybody needs to pay attention to me, and it's not going to work. And it, like I said, it looked desperate. And I wasn't impressed by that. And I saw a few other people saying, "What's like this isn't professional. This isn't what you do." So that wasn't too cool. Melissa, do you have any more?
I do not, although I do have a late awesome. I think it was pretty awesome. Graham and I both went 5-0 in the playoffs, so I have to throw that out there before we got too far. But what about you, Tyler? Anything else?
That's it for me as well.
All right, so I guess that's the finals dealt with. Let's get on to this cool new rumor, which just came out today. Reported by Marissa and Jemmy in Isle Indoor, but I've seen Teddy Jenner tweeted about it and a few other people as well. And the rumor is this, that there will be an NLL expansion team in Halifax, Nova Scotia, not next year, but the year after. That part we've talked about before. The new part is that this team will be owned by Kurt Stiers, who is the current owner and GM of the Nighthawks. This will happen after he sells the Nighthawks to the same group that owns the Bandits. So apparently recently, there was a rule, or up until recently, there was a rule preventing the same person or group from owning two different teams. And apparently that rule has been removed. So this sounds like it might be allowed. Marissa also mentioned that this could pave the way for Joe Tsai, who is the San Diego Seals owner, to potentially own an NLL team in New York, whether that's New York as in Manhattan or in Brooklyn, or I'm not sure, but he will be at least co-owner, if not majority owner, of the Brooklyn Nets of the NBA in a year or two. So he's obviously got financial and sports deals in that area, so he might want to have a second team. And if they allow the same owner to have two different teams in the NLL, then he may want to do that. So that's the rumor. Yeah, this sounds to me like a huge conflict of interest, and I don't know why they would have removed the rule that allowed this. And it just seems obvious that this is a bad idea to me. If you have, let's say we have, like, for example, the Bandits are doing great in attendance right now, but they haven't had much success on the floor in the last couple of years. The Nighthawks are the other way around. They obviously just went to the finals. And I'm wearing my Nighthawks jersey today in deference to their visit to the finals, because I don't have a Rush jersey. So Saskatchewan Rush, if you want to send us Rush jerseys, we will wear them. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So let's say the Nighthawks aren't doing great at the box office. The Bandits trade Dane Smith from the Nighthawks for draft picks. This is not something that would ever happen with separate owners, because why would the Bandits do such a thing? But they might trade him to the Nighthawks because he's a really exciting player to watch, and who wouldn't want to watch Dane Smith and Joe Resetarits and Cody Jamieson and all those rookies all in the same team? That would be exciting. So maybe that'll boost some attendance at the expense of losing a bit of attendance in Buffalo, but they're doing okay to start with anyway. So, I mean, we already see trades made for business reasons and not for lacrosse reasons, and that's going to happen. We accept that. This leaves that door open a little too wide for my taste. So I think that's a bad idea. Tyler, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess one question I currently have, I don't know, is do the trades currently happening in the league require any sort of league approval, or they're just say, hey, like that's the agreement that the two teams came up with. That's all right. If we have a single owner, do we have the board of governors have to vote on a deal between, in this example, Rochester and Buffalo? They're not allowed to make any deals amongst themselves without board of governors, which is usually like the owners and maybe some GMs of the league. Or do we just trust the GMs of those two teams? Does this only work if the owner is hands off and has no regular front office duties? The Pegula kind of owns the Buffalo Sabres. He kind of works at a higher level than daily NLL activities. He cares about the product, but frankly, it's not his core passion. I would not say. It's a smart business choice for him to fill his arena 9 or more times a year with that many fans, and sell parking, sell concessions, etc. So if you say, well, the owner doesn't care, it's just the two GMs trying to make their teams better, then let them do it on their own. Next thing on my mind is Rochester. In my mind, they've been actually working on the Native American angle on their jerseys. They've had the Bears, the Stars, some really cool stuff going on there. But I'd say this is because of Steyer's and his Native American roots, and some of the players like Sid Smith and Cody Jamieson. Now that the owner leaves, do they keep doing this? Or do they do it less? Does it have less meaning? It's a tough one. And the last question I have is, does Steyer's have to pay the $5 million expansion fee to own a team in the league he already owns a team in? can't imagine a situation where the Nighthawks are worth $5 million. So he can just say like, well, I'll just sell them, get my money, and put it over here as the expansion fee. Probably, I don't know what even a team's worth. $1.5, $2 million is something I saw a long time ago. Well, in the last few years. Luckily, from all accounts, Kurt Stiers is a billionaire, so he has $5 million laying around like I have $5 in my pocket. It's a different world he lives in, and he loves the game. So I think he would do it, but it's a question I have. Cody Jamieson is his nephew, and he signed a 10-year deal to play for his uncle with Rochester. I suspect Cody Jamieson will be the first privateer if Stiers owns the Halifax team. So those are all the thoughts in my head, but I don't know. I would love Joe Tsai to own a team in New York if he's be part of the Brooklyn Nets and kind of has some pull in the arena. That's usually the biggest factor in New York, is getting an arena deal that's worthwhile. But if he's like, hey, I own half the team, and I don't know if that comes with any sort of ownership of the arena, but it'd be nice to have a team in New York for marketing purposes, and they can do all right there. It's hard, but they can do all right there. Melissa, what are your thoughts on this interesting, exciting bit of news?
I don't know if I can bring up any points that weren't already made. I can't think that there's any league that allows an owner to own two teams. So this just really strikes me as weird. Kind of like what Graham was saying. Even if they are hands off, there's still going to be pressure from the top to bring in attendance. And so coaches would still be prone to maybe making moves that they might not otherwise because that top-down pressure on both teams. I think there's just a lot of stickiness here that's not where you want to go. And like I said, I can't think of another league that anyone owns two teams in the same league. They own in different leagues, sure. Like Kroenke, he owns several teams, but I don't think he owns two in the same sport. Yeah, it's just there's a lot of ethical quandaries that come from this, even with a hands-off owner, because even if you're hands-off, they're still going to be your influence. So I just don't think it's good. I can see things being put in place to help protect some of this. Like Tyler said, maybe the Board of Governors or those two teams cannot do a deal together. I can definitely see that. I think before that could happen, they need to really go in and spell out this can be done, this can be done, this can't be done, this can't be done, and have that in place before anything actually goes forward.
I think this is a thing now. I was driving up to Seattle for going to work today, and I was getting caught up on Off the Crossbar, Teddy Jenner's podcast, and he had Nick Sakevich on, and it was just a throwaway line in the middle of the podcast. He said, and owner can now own two teams in a league. That's something that has come up and is now things like it as of 2 months ago. This was a changed rule that was mentioned, and nobody thought anything of it. But now we know what the implication or what the vision was for this. So it's not if this is going to happen. This can happen now. There's nothing blocking them anymore.
Now, 10-ish years ago, actually probably more than that, Brad Waters was part of the ownership group of the Toronto Rock. He also owned, and I don't think this was a group, I think he owned them outright, the Ottawa Rebel and the Montreal Express. So at one point, the same guy owned two teams and parts of a third. I don't remember there being any issues in terms of trading among those teams. I don't remember if there were any rules against it. Now, I don't think I even knew about it at the time because I've read about it since then. But yeah, I don't remember it being a big thing at the time. But it still just sort of rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I guess we'll hear more about that in the months to come, and then we'll have the expansion draft in a couple of weeks, or about a month, yeah, a little over a month away. Yep. So predictions. Let's get to that. As Melissa said, we went 5-0, Melissa and I. So that's pretty cool. Now we didn't pick the winners of individual games in the finals. We just picked the winner of the series. And so I think if we had done that, I probably would have gone 6-1 because I picked Saskatchewan to win games 1 and 2, and obviously would have got game 2 wrong. But I'll take the 5-0. Thanks very much. Tyler was 2 and 3 because he was a little more hopeful, and he may have been gaming the system after seeing what me and Melissa were doing. And so
it's a good batting average, getting hitting 400.
Fair enough. All right. I guess that's the end of today's show. However, recent events must be taken into account, and I have some last-minute awesomes to award. And kudos to you if you understood that reference.
Mm-hmm.
10 points to Gryffindor, one might say. The first one goes to my co-hosts, Tyler and Melissa. I've had a lot of fun talking lacrosse with you guys every week. I can't believe we've been doing this for 5 years now. So thanks for doing this with me every week. I'm already looking forward to next season. You guys are awesome.
Thanks. It's kind of flown by. It's also the 5 years. No, this is our 3rd year, but no, five whole years. It's amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like 5 years. I agree with Tyler. It feels like maybe this is our 2nd or 3rd. It is fine. So much fun, even though our lives don't always cooperate, especially with these later seasons.
All right, and the second awesome is to you, the listener. Thanks for listening. For those of you who watch live, thanks for watching. Thanks for your comments on YouTube and via Twitter and via email and Facebook. Thanks for sharing the show on social media. And most of all, thanks for your enthusiasm. We know that you are all just as addicted to lacrosse as we are. So that will do it for the 5th season of Addicted to Lacrosse. We may record a show maybe shortly after the expansion draft in July or the entry draft in September, maybe even both, depending on schedules and such. Otherwise, we will be back around about training camp in November, October, somewhere in that area. So for Tyler and Melissa, I'm Graham. Thanks for listening. Have a great summer, and we will see you in the fall.